Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate.
Well, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
The confrontation on The View between Whoopi Goldberg and Karoline Leavitt became a defining moment in the ongoing battle between conservative and progressive voices in the mainstream media. Leavitt, a young and articulate conservative, walked onto the liberal-dominated show and exposed the hypocrisy of its hosts, particularly Goldberg. This explosive episode not only showcased the cultural divide in America, but also highlighted the ideological clash between those who embrace the far-left agenda and those who reject it. Karoline Leavitt, who has a background working for the Trump administration and even ran for Congress at a young age, showed up as a formidable conservative voice.
Like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good. So good. In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged.
Despite the progressive atmosphere on The View, Leavitt was unafraid to push back and challenge the narrative, making Goldberg look unprepared and intellectually defeated.
The debate,
the most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world. We have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Leavitt didn't just present her arguments forcefully, she methodically dismantled Goldberg's points, demonstrating how the mainstream media, particularly outlets like ABC, had long presented a biased left-wing narrative while dismissing opposing views. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her long tenure on The View, represents a quintessential liberal figure who often used her platform to silence conservative voices. This was made clear in her interaction with Leavitt. When Goldberg tried to dismiss Leavitt as being hired merely because of wokeness, Leavitt calmly responded, highlighting how the left had corrupted the term woke from a supposed movement for equality to a tool for enforcing ideological conformity. Goldberg's sneering remark, claiming that Leavitt only had her job due to wokeness.
Well, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Inadvertently exposed the media's intellectual bankruptcy. Instead of engaging in a reasoned debate, Goldberg resorted to personal attacks, revealing her inability to argue on merit. The word woke has become a shield for left-wing elites to censor dissent and enforce ideological orthodoxy. However, Leavitt's appearance disrupted this narrative, showing that conservative voices no longer have to accept being shut down. She argued that the term wokeness was originally created to fight against discrimination and inequality, particularly for women and minorities. But over time, it had been weaponized to silence opposition, something that Goldberg's dismissal of Leavitt exemplified. The encounter revealed that the left's embrace of identity politics, while once seen as a movement for equality, had devolved into an oppressive tool used to shut down any views that deviated from the left's agenda. The encounter on The View didn't just end with Goldberg's failure to respond to Leavitt's arguments. It sent shockwaves through the media landscape, especially given the growing public discontent with shows like The View. Viewers increasingly felt that the show had become a stronghold of progressive rhetoric, where conservative perspectives were mocked and marginalized. Leavitt's bold challenge to this narrative and Goldberg's inability to defend her position opened the floodgates for public backlash. Many viewers saw this as a reflection of the broader media problem, where conservative voices were often dismissed, ridiculed, or ignored by mainstream outlets.
But afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged?
Goldberg's response to Leavitt, which relied on personal insults rather than substantive debate, was part of a larger pattern of left-wing elites using their platforms to enforce ideological conformity. This pattern had been pervasive for years in media, education, and entertainment, where institutions often sided with progressive causes and silenced opposing viewpoints. But Leavitt's performance demonstrated that this dynamic was shifting. The rise of social media and alternative news platforms had given conservative voices more power, enabling them to challenge the dominance of mainstream outlets like ABC. The fallout from this episode was immediate. ABC, already facing declining ratings and several lawsuits tied to The View, found itself in crisis mode. Advertisers began pulling their support, and even longtime fans of the show began questioning whether The View had crossed a line. The network's decision to temporarily suspend Goldberg seemed more like a recognition of the mounting pressure rather than a simple hiatus. Goldberg, once seen as a powerful force on the show, had become a liability. Her inability to effectively argue against Leavitt and her resorting to tired, dismissive tactics had exposed the cracks in her credibility. The controversy surrounding Goldberg also led to heightened scrutiny of ABC's editorial choices. The network had long been criticized for its left-wing bias, and this episode only intensified those criticisms. With the media landscape shifting and audiences increasingly skeptical of mainstream outlets, Goldberg's failure to win the debate with Leavitt underscored the growing divide between the media elite and the American public. The rise of figures like Leavitt, who refused to be silenced and who challenged the prevailing narrative with facts and logic, pointed to a broader shift in the media ecosystem.